Welcome, classic rock fans, to the second instalment where we're discussing the Peter Jackson film Get Back. The second part has a lot more bite to it. It holds our interest. The first part seemed a little meandering and aimless at times, to be honest with you, in my opinion. What's interesting about this next instalment of the Get Back film is it starts with the dealing with the aftermath of George Harrison leaving the Beatles. And we get that wonderful comment by Ringo Starr in his usual deadpan delivery, well, things just fell apart. There's definitely a palpable tension at the beginning of this part. As they're discussing George Harrison's departure, Linda, of course, arrives. And it gets onto the topic of Yoko Ono, which is rather an intriguing, insightful discussion that they have, and about John Lennon not being there. And I think Paul says something like, if John had to choose between the Beatles or Yoko Ono, it would be Yoko Ono. And then what ensues is a brief debate as to whether Yoko should be brought to the sessions. It's actually Paul that says John should bring her. There's an intriguing part of this where Paul actually announces that there should be a TV special, a TV show interspersed with current event news items, and at the end there should be the main news item: the Beatles have split up. And the camera tends to linger on their faces a bit here, because Paul looks quite emotional. His eyes are shrink-wrapped in tears. Another fascinating part is when there's a hidden microphone in a pot plant or something, very cloak and dagger. And what they do is they capture a conversation between Paul and John, a recorded conversation that they didn't know was being recorded regarding the leaving of the band of George Harrison. Ultimately, with things not going particularly well, they have to decide about postponing the live shows. I think they decide to put them back a week. There's a wonderful moment that segues into a wonderful moment where Paul McCartney is playing Backseat of My Car, the song from the Ram album. That's quite interesting to hear it in this very early form. As I said before, the camaraderie with the band is interesting and entertaining. There's a lot of warmth there. A lot more purpose, I think, focus and endeavour in terms of what they need to do. Interesting, about 30 minutes in, we get Peter Sellers, the actor who arrives on the scene. He's more or less interested in what's going on, but he doesn't contribute much. But frustrations are apparent. I think John at one point says we should consider what we have, and Yoko pipes in, or what we haven't. About the 50-minute mark, we get the band thrashing through these songs again. They working through I Dig a Pony. We see them playing I've Got a Feeling, Don't Let Me Down, and She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. For me, the major shift in mood with this documentary is at the hour 26-minute mark when Billy Preston arrives. He really lifts this music. He has an incredible influence on what they're doing, and you can just feel that there's a renewed sense of purpose and energy in their playing, and the way he textures these songs is just it just breathes life into them. It's fantastic. At about 1 hour 38, we get what is called the Freak Out Jam with Yoko Ono on vocals, and the whole thing feels like somebody scraping their nails down a blackboard. Interesting, at the 2 hour 22 mark, we get a brief glimpse of Alan Parsons, a very young, fresh-faced Alan Parsons. I'm sure he'll be pleased that he's made the film. Of course, it all ends up with them eventually deciding to cancel the live gigs, cancel the idea of doing something on Primrose Hill in London, which was decided they had to abandon that. And, eventually the discussion, something is suggested to Paul that they should have the gig on the rooftop. And he seems to like the idea, because the next bit of footage is them checking out the rooftop as to where they should play. Before we get some more footage of them thrashing out Let It Be, sort of half-heartedly, really, in a comic, sort of half-committed way, before Paul announces that he's tired and just wants to go home, and that's the end of the second episode. I must admit, this is an intriguing documentary. It's one for hardcore Beatles fans. I don't think there's any way I'd get my wife to be able to sit through all this, but maybe a very short and edited version she'd enjoy. But I think the next one is going to be the cherry on the cake. It's all building up to this. The first part, as I said, was rather aimless and meandering. The second part, you can feel the songs coming together, especially at that moment when Billy Preston joins them. But I think the third part is when it's all going to finally be realised in that rooftop concert. Anyway, you've been watching a short appraisal of the second part of the Peter Jackson film Get Back. Thank you so much for watching. I will just say, as I always do, please be sure to click like, subscribe, check that bell, but more importantly, you keep listening.